All right, good morning. Welcome, everybody. We are back and live once again here on Facebook. My name is Patrick France, Senior Instructor here at VectorVest. Glad to be with you all. We took a week off last week, took the family out for a vacation for the week, and so now back, recharged, better than ever, ready to go. Hopefully, you guys are too. If you guys can hear me out there, let me know in the comments. Let me know where you guys are tuning in from. Let me know that you can hear and see everything well. That way we have confirmation of that. Good morning, Jordan. First comment of the day. Welcome, Jordan. Hopefully you're doing well. For anybody not familiar, maybe you're just tuning in for the first time, to give you a little insight on what we do here every single Thursday on our Facebook Live is we take a look at the Stock Advisory app. The Stock Advisory app is the mobile app to help you not only manage your portfolio, but help you time the market, find good stocks to buy, tell you when to buy, when not to buy, and everything in between. It's the most comprehensive trading app to help individual retail investors make smarter, better, and faster decisions. Well, every single Thursday, we talk about either new tips and tricks, new ideas, and literally everything that has to do with the market, utilizing the mobile app to show you guys how easy it can be from wherever you're at. So what we typically do is we start to take a look at what's happening in the market today, and then we'll dive into our topic of discussion, which I got a brand new watch list for you guys. So hopefully you guys are all excited about that. You guys tend to like those personalized watch lists. So I've got a brand new one that I think is, really timely for where we're at in the market. And then as always, we save the fan favorite towards the very end, where I'll show you guys how to analyze your own stocks in less than 10 seconds. So if you want to see your own stocks analyzed, make sure to stick around towards the very end. Also, as always, if you're new here or if you've been here for a while, make sure to hit that like button, hit that share button. All that helps me out, doesn't cost you a thing, and helps continue to grow this awesome community that we built over the last few years. All right, so now that we've got that all said, out of the way, let's go ahead, jump right into what's going on in the market today. And then I'll get to show you guys or reveal finally a brand new watch list that we'll have coming out for you guys. All right, so we start to take a look at what's happening in the market right now. So we see right now we are one tick into the green. Therefore, the market is mildly bullish today. And VectorVest advocates caution when buying stocks at this time. Yesterday was a pretty turbulent day. We had the Fed coming out and talking. We have a lot of fear going on in the market, and hopefully that can kind of help things subside a little bit. We've seen the market taking off a little bit here today, but one day doesn't make a trend, and we still need to be cautious at this current time in the market. So if we scroll down here, take a look at the color guard. Right now, we have one green light showing in the price column because we're higher day over day and week over week. The RT is still in the yellow because we are higher day over day and week over week, but we still remain below 1. And then the buy to sell ratio, or the BSR, is also in the yellow, even though we're higher day over day and week over week. Once again, we still remain below 1. So therefore, we still have those yellow lights in the RT and the BSR. After that, we then get the MTI, which stands for the market timing indicator. And this is cast on a scale of 0 to 2. And above 1 shows the underlying trend of the market is up. Below 1 shows the underlying trend of the market is down. So at 0.97, even though the markets are a little higher here today, we still have the underlying trend of the market in a downtrend currently. So be careful of that. After that, we then get the trend column, which shows 2 parts of the trend each and every day. The first part of the trend is looking at the short-term trend of the market or weekly trend of the market, which we call the primary wave. As we can see, it is up since the price of the VectorVest composite is higher than it was 5 trading days earlier. Now, it's interesting to note, yesterday we had a little bit of a rocky market, and we did get that primary wave up situation as of yesterday, and continuing to get follow through here today. And that's one of the most aggressive or earliest timing signals we have here at VectorVest to give very short-term trends. So seeing that turn up is definitely a sight for sore eyes here, to say the least. After that, the second part of the trend is just looking at the underlying trend, or the MTI. So since the MTI is below 1, the underlying trend in the market still remains down. And then finally, the last section is the calls column, which stands for our confirmed calls. Now, our confirmed calls are our most conservative timing system. They're our last signal we get to get into the market and our last signal we get to get out. As you can see, we still remain in a confirmed down situation as of today. All right, so before we move down to take a look at the advanced declines, I want to make sure that I don't miss any questions coming through. So let's see, does the app give you a green light buyer, etc.? So yes, Tony, you can see the green light buyer, but not the way you typically would see with the desktop version. You would see that green light buyer because we cover it every single night right here in the daily color guard report that can be found there. You can also see in the color guard itself, for example, on May 18th, you see that little asterisk there in the red light, the price column. That would indicate the RT kicker timing signal for you if you're following that. So yeah, you can get that information not on a graph like you can on the desktop, but you still can get that same information. All right, so hopefully we got that question answered. Let's go ahead, take a look at the advanced declines. As always, every single week, we like to take a look at this because it's a great indicator to tell us, even if we have those green lights, whether or not it's a good time to buy or not a good time to buy. This kind of gives that confirmation on a daily basis. And what we like to see with this is a 2-to-1 bias in either direction. So if the market's moving higher, we want to see twice as many stocks advancing than declining. And if the market's moving lower, just the opposite. We want to see twice as many stocks declining than advancing. So right now we're sitting at about 57% of stocks moving higher and about 32% of stocks moving lower. Not quite at that 2-to-1 rate so far, but things could change by the end of the session. So we'll make sure we keep updated on this as well. And then finally, before we jump into our brand new watch list here for you guys, we have the major indices where the Dow is up about 0.4%, NASDAQ's up 1.4%, so being a huge leader here today in the market. S&P is up about 0.8%. Overall, VectorVest composite up about 0.7% for the day. So everything looks pretty good. I would like to see that advanced declines a little bit stronger than where it's at right now. But once again, we still got plenty of trading hours left in the day to see that pick up a little bit. All right. So with that, let's go ahead, jump into the brand new watch list, which isn't currently in the app. So if you want to take these stocks down, you can. I'm going to work on, after today's session, getting these stocks imported into a new watch list, just like all the other Facebook watch lists that we've created over the last few months or last year or two. So with that, let's go ahead, jump right into it. If we take a look at the My Watch List section, scroll down here, and I have gold and silver and today's date, 5/20/21. And before we, really go through this list, I just want to give you guys a little bit of insight on how I came up with this. So I spent some time looking at the whole entire gold and silver industry, which is roughly about 165, maybe 200 stocks or so. So quite a large industry. And I sorted it and ranked it and did some rank analysis to look up some of the safest stocks based on the VectorVest analysis, some of the best with long-term potential, some of the hottest momentum plays currently. I also added some big names that, people tend to see quite a lot or talk about quite a lot. I've added those in here so you guys can get an idea of how those rank up compared to some of the, stocks that are flying under the radar that VectorVest can help you find. And then I've also added some of the stocks based on YSG. So you may be asking what YSG is. YSG is an indicator that we use here at VectorVest to analyze the dividend of a stock. Now, you may be thinking, well, we never talk about dividends on Thursdays. Why are we talking about them now? That's because I just did a video over on our YouTube page talking about some of the gold and silver mining stocks, specifically the B2 Gold or BTG ticker symbol, which I have here in the list. And one of the comments that a lot of people kept bringing up that were already subscribers with us is that they bought it based off the VectorVest recommendation and based off of the dividend analysis that VectorVest had on it. So I'm going to be addressing that here. So, I've told those people, if you want to get more insight, make sure to join us today. If you're in here today, you're at the right spot. I will be getting into that to help you guys out. And still feel pretty confident in my selection or my analysis on it overall. But hopefully I can have a little bit more time to kind of explain that mentality or that mindset behind it. All right, now we've got it. Let's go ahead, start to analyze it. So as always, whenever you pull up a watch list, VectorVest will automatically sort it by our master indicator VST, standing for value, safety, and timing. So therefore, the stocks with the best combination of, once again, value, safety, or risk, and timing, or that technical indicator, come to the very top, and the ones that worst combination go to the very bottom. So you can see here, K92 Mining. This is a stock that was in the top VST list for quite some time, about a year or so ago, maybe a little bit longer than that, but it's still a great performer. There are some issues sometimes people have with their specific broker. They do charge a fee to buy the stock, I believe. But overall, it's a great performer. As you can see, it's the highest overall VST stock out of the whole entire list, and we'll see why in just a little bit. So second, you got Argonaut Gold, ARNGF. So this is a foreign equity traded on the U.S. markets. If you're in, let's say, I believe it's Canada is where this is based out of. If you're in Canada, the symbol may look a little bit different, but in the U.S., this is the ticker symbol that is traded on the U.S. exchanges. And then you'll see some other names like Helica Mining, HL, which was one of our top RS stocks for quite some time a few years ago. Endeavor Silver, you have Harmony Gold, Kirkland Lake, you have FNV, you have Kinross in here, B2 Gold, Humana, a lot of popular names as well. So that way you guys can see how exactly they rank up against some of the top VectorVest choices. All right, so we've got it by VST. We've seen the top VST list. Let's start doing some rank analysis together, and you'll see why some of these stocks pop up and why they're added in here. Kieran is asking real quick, where is this watch list? So Kieran, as I stated a second ago, this isn't in the mobile watch list quite yet. This is my own personal watch list. After today's stream, I will work on getting this added into the app, but it does take a little bit to get that transferred over. So if you don't want to take these down right now, if you don't want to handwrite these down, I think there's about 15 of them. If you don't want to do that all by hand right now, that's fine. I'm going to work on it after today's stream to get this whole list added into the program for you. Exactly. All right, so VST, great indicator to start off with. But let's start breaking it down into different aspects of it. So first one, RS, relative safety. RS is looking at the consistency and the predictability of their financial performance. In essence, to keep it simple, it's looking at how consistently are they able to grow their earnings quarter over quarter, year over year? How good of a balance sheet do they have? Is it consistent? Are they able to do that time and time again? If they do, if they can, then they're high, or that means the higher the RS score will be. So SBSW, this is what I talked about in the YouTube video a few days ago. And as we can see, it does have the highest RS rating out of the whole entire gold and silver mining industry. So out of about, once again, 165 to 200 stocks, which I can just quickly check over here real quick. Let's go back to, give me 1 second, I'll find it. But out of all the whole entire industry, this stock had the best fundamentals out of it. So very, very important, and a good option that you don't really hear too many people talking about. And so it's nice to bring some new ideas to the table that you may not already be familiar with. So yeah, there's 165 stocks currently in the gold and silver mining industry. So 165 is correct. I thought that was, but just wanted to double check. All right. The second highest RS stock, Franco-Nevada, FNV. Now, this is one I have seen in the headlines from time to time, not as often as some of the other ones, but still extremely strong fundamentals. RS score as the second highest out of the whole entire industry. And if you're somebody who's looking for more long-term consistency, earnings is going to be that engine that drives stock prices higher over time. And RS is going to be your key to find those stocks that have that consistent earnings performance. So FNV definitely making the list here for you guys. And once again, if you guys haven't already hit that like button, hit that share button, go ahead and do so right now while we're getting into the third one. For me, that helps grow the community and continues to show your support for these streams, and hopefully shows your support for how excited you guys are on these watch lists here. All right, third, Kirkland Lake. Great RS score, still above 1. Not the best, but still 1.07 out of the whole entire industry, being top 3. Not bad. Also, another very popular name. I wanted to add it in here so that way, once again, you guys can see the popular names and how they stack up to some of the best stocks based off the VectorVest rank analysis. All right, so we've got Kirkland Lake, still good, not the best, but I'll take it. So that's RS. The next one we're going to look at is RT, so timing. If you're a short-term trader, if you're somebody that's looking to take advantage of the momentum, gold and silver is hot right now. With inflation fears coming into the market, you've had nothing but talks about inflation over the last few weeks. And if you're anything like me, it gets kind of old after a while, but at the same time, it still indicates a good opportunity for a momentum play or, a news-driven play. And these stocks with the highest RTs are going to be those stocks that you can take advantage of currently to take advantage of the short-term momentum. So Argonaut Gold, as we saw, is one of the top stocks earlier, followed by HL and then K92 Mining. So very similar to what we were seeing with the top VST stocks, but looking at it here, these stocks have the highest RT, starting off with Argonaut Gold at 1.8. That's an extremely strong RT rating. If we take a look at the graph, just on a quick snapshot, that's the 1 year. Zooming in, let's go ahead and maximize that so you guys can see it out there. But looking at it here, you had a lot of sideways movement for realistically the last year or so. But now all of a sudden, ever since March coming into April, you've started seeing some new uptrends emerging here. You're starting to see it taking off, and right now it's a hot ticket item. It is making money left and right. Still up nicely here today. This is a great momentum play for anybody looking for, a quick profit, short-term minded, but, still want to have exposure to the gold and silver industry, because this is, gold and silver. Before we jump into anything else, in case you're not familiar with it, if you're brand new, I know there's a lot of new retail investors into the market starting throughout last year and coming into this year. If you're brand new into the market, gold and silver is the most traditional play to hedge against inflation. Ever since back in, the Roman times, essentially, and even before that, gold and silver was the main currency. Something my father taught me a long time ago, a saying he always had was a ounce of gold, I think it was, could buy you a nice suit, back in the day, and an ounce of gold at this time can still buy you a nice suit for this current day and age. So gold and silver are two precious metals that have always been held favorably by societies and tend to hold their value over time, regardless of what fiat currencies do. And have a more longevity or have a more consistent track record than anything even cryptocurrency based. So that's why, this is a very sound traditional play that has a proven track record to be a good inflationary hedge. That's why I wanted to bring it to you guys and bring you guys some different ideas that you haven't looked at. All right, so now that everybody's hopefully on the same page, let's continue. So that's Argonaut Gold, not bad. Helica Mining, consistent. It was moving sideways for a little bit, but now starting to get a new uptrend forming. Definitely like seeing that. The earnings at the bottom is steadily rising as well. That's exactly what you want to see. If you're looking for a stock that's going to make money, looking at the earnings can help you identify that. Also, if you want a more technical way of playing these kind of stocks, one thing to look at is a lot of these stocks had that sideways move throughout July of last year until really about April of this year. You had a level of resistance roughly, just by taking a quick eyeball at it, right around $7 a share. You can see that $7 marker here. And once we broke through that $7 marker, we came back, retested it, and now taking off to this new run that we're seeing now. So there's a lot of benefit to looking at the chart of these to help get a better timing and entry. And it can also help you, time that exit as well. So that's HL, and then K92 Mining, pulling it up, pretty volatile. It's a, $7 stock, not bad. Price has been a lot lower than this just a few years ago, or just even a year ago. But now up nicely, consistently rising up 4.25% here today. I'll take that. All right. So those are some of your higher momentum plays. Now, if you're looking for aggressive stocks, if you're looking for ones that have good long-term potential, they may have some additional risk, but you really want that more aggressive play if that's your cup of tea. Well, sorting it by RV gives you exactly that. So we can see SBSW once again coming to the top of the list. So not only does this stock have the best RS rating out of all 165 gold and silver mining stocks, it also has the highest RV rating out of the whole entire industry as well. The other one, which kind of explains why this is more of an aggressive sort utilizing RV, is CGAU. This one, as you can see, has a sell rating, but looking at the RV of 1.72 has some great long-term potential. If we dive in a little bit deeper into it, yes, it has great long-term potential, but this one does have some additional risk associated with it as well. Also, the timing at 0.69, not the greatest, especially when you compare it to, let's say, SBSW. This one, great long-term potential. You have great safety or less risk associated with it. And the timing at 0.98, it's trying to get back above 1, trying to make that new high to get to the uptrend, or the way we would define an uptrend here. All right, so we've got those all ready for you. Now, getting into some of the comments I had from the video we put out on our YouTube page about gold and silver stocks earlier this week. And that is looking at the dividend analysis. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the YSG factor. It's looking at the dividend's yield, the dividend safety. So how consistently is that dividend being paid? Is it increasing over time, or is it decreasing over time? And then also dividend growth, which once again kind of relates to, is it increasing or decreasing, but looking more specifically at the rate of that increase or decrease. So if we sort it by YSG, ARMZF is the number one stock if you're focused on dividends. So this, when I was doing this rank analysis, it made me think I was thinking a lot about those comments about, I took B2 Gold because of VectorVest analysis, which B2 Gold is still a good stock. But as we've seen here, it hasn't come into the top of the list at any time throughout the last few sorts that we've been looking at. And even when you look at it based off the dividend analysis, it's still only in the top 3. So if you're looking at B2 Gold from strictly the dividend play, there are better options throughout the VectorVest database. So I don't really go for that comment, and I still hold true that B2 Gold is a good gold play. Anywhere in the gold and silver mining is realistically going to be a good play if you're worried about inflation, or if inflation starts picking up. But to say that that was the one you chose because of that, when VectorVest has even better candidates here, I can't go for that. I can't go for that excuse, especially when looking at it here. The numbers, yes, it's a good one, but it's still not the best. And that's what VectorVest is about, is helping you find the best stock in the best industry and in up market or whatever markets we have. So that's why I wanted to bring this list to you. And once again, this watch list will be out in a little bit for you guys, hopefully by the end of the day, if not by the end of this week. All right, so let's take a look at it. ARMZF, that's a tongue twister right there. But looking at the YSG factor, 1.41, the highest YSG factor out of the whole entire industry. Second one, no surprise, coming in with SBSW, 1.31, extremely strong. So SBSW has now been the one that has the best long-term potential. It has the best safety out of the whole entire industry, and it has the second highest YSG factor, so it has the second best analysis on dividends. This so far, the only thing that isn't in favor for SBSW is that RT at 0.98, but it's steadily rising. If we take a look at it, we can see a nice steady uptrend over the last year. We zoom in, let's go ahead, customize this graph a little bit. Change it to RT. Go back. So RT has been pulling back. It's really been just moving sideways, just trying to tread water right around that level of 1. That 40-day simple moving average may not be the best. Maybe you could loosen that up a little bit to connect those lows, but you definitely have a nice steady uptrend with a pullback right now. If we break above that 40-day moving average, start hitting, let's go zoom in a little bit. Let's go 3 months. Start hitting the higher high, let's say above 19, where is that? Let's find that point. Where is that high for that day? 1937. So 1937, if we can get above those highs right there, we already now have a potentially higher low forming as of the 19th, so yesterday. Now, if we can get above that high of 1937, that would create from not only a higher low, but also to a higher high, by definition, starting an uptrend here with that one. So Peter's asking, SBSW as a whole though, how does that check with your analysis? So Peter, the only reason why it's a hold still is because of that RT rating. RT being below 1 is going to keep it as a hold. But that's why we wanted to take a look at that chart real quick for you guys. So that way, you know, when we start seeing those higher lows, you can get an early entry point into one of the best stocks based off multiple different ways of rank analysis to get into. So while yes, it is still a hold right now, if timing picks up, which, you know, if gold and silver start taking off, if inflation fears continue to run the headlines, there's no doubt that this one won't start picking up and cross that one line. Has a nice pullback right now. Definitely one to keep on our radar. Not saying right now is the exact best entry, but very, very soon, and definitely one you want to keep on your radar because it has, once again, the best analysis out of pretty much any stock in the gold and silver industry right now. So we take a look at BTG, the YSG factor at 1.14. Let's go take a look at the chart. Let's go zoom out to a year. This is something that, you know, I talked about in the other video. I want to talk about here today. A lot of the stocks we've been looking at have had either a sideways move or a nice steady uptrend over the last year. B2 Gold has had a steady downtrend for pretty much the most of the last year. It wasn't until just recently that we started seeing a turnaround, and it could be the fact that, you know, the industry is rising, and when the industry rises, all stocks in that industry tend to get picked up a little bit from that. So if we take a closer look at the most recent run-up, their earnings date was right about here. Let me see, get my cursor here. There we go. Earnings date was right about here somewhere, and we saw it move down, but then quickly reverse, move sideways for a little bit, but, you know, in a nice consistent up channel from a technical basis, just starting to break above those highs. Would like to see it continue that. But overall, you know, that earnings performance after they announced it, even though it was a good earnings performance, they don't have a consistent basis to do so over the long term for this stock. And when they announced their earnings, even with a good earnings, it still went down a little bit before it just started trending back up through this nice steady, you know, channel essentially over the last few weeks. So this kind of gives credence to all boats rise with the tide essentially. So as gold and silver become more and more popular, even the worst performers in that industry will still get picked up a little bit. This one isn't the worst performer. It's a good middle of the ground. You know, it's not the very best, but it's definitely not the worst. This one seems to get picked up with the overall industry as well. So that's what I see here more so than, you know, this is being a dividend play or a safety play or a long-term play. As we've seen, there are better options out there. All right. So hopefully that gives you guys, if anybody was commenting about that, if any of you guys were talking about that over on our YouTube page, hopefully that gives you guys some insight on my thoughts on it and kind of gives them more explanation there. All right, so we know that. Let's go ahead and take a look at the stock analysis report. As always, you can pull this analysis report up on any single stock out there every single day, no matter where you are at. We scroll down, we get the analysis we just looked at, keep coming down, and here we go. So you get the dividend, you get the dividend yield, you get the dividend safety, and the dividend growth. So let's take a look at it real quick. So the dividend, 16 cents annualized. Dividend yield is really a big important factor. Dividend yield of 3.03%. So 3% a year, not bad. Dividend safety on a scaling of 0 to 99 at 64, which is definitely good. But let's take a look. Go back. SBSW. Scroll down real quick. All right, here we go. So dividend yield of 4.21%. So slightly better dividend yield. 78 cents a share over the course of a year. And then a dividend safety, which if you're a dividend investor, of 77 on a scaling of 0 to 92 is really good, is not bad. And that's what you want to see. You want to have a consistent dividend, and dividend safety tells you exactly that. So if you're looking for not only a hedge against inflation utilizing gold and silver stocks, but you're also looking for a consistent, steady dividend, SBSW still has the better play overall. All right, so now we've gotten into that, let's make sure we cover everything else. Comfort Index, another one I wanted to look at. And then CLGDF is one of the stocks that, never really heard of. Doing the analysis, pulled it up. I believe this one, or one of these had some really good, strong RS times CI calculations there. And I think that's why I put it in this list. I'd have to go back and double check, but I'm pretty sure that's why I put it in this list. Even though we can't get the RS times CI rank analysis in the app quite yet, I still wanted to put it in there for you guys because I know a lot of you guys out there enjoy that sort. So looking at Go Gold Resources, over the course of 3 months, steadily rising, definitely has a lot more volatility. 6 months doesn't look bad. 1 year looks phenomenal. Looks like it's consolidating a little bit right now, but overall a nice steady rise in price from bottom left to upper right. And that's exactly what you want to see here. Every time that it has had some volatility or a pullback, it tends to bounce back quickly and goes back to new highs, which is what you want in a stock. All right, so that is our gold and silver list. If you guys have any questions about this, or if you guys have, stocks that you think should have been in this list, let me know in the comments below. Also, if you want to see your own stocks analyzed, go ahead and start putting them in the comments now, and we'll go ahead and get to those in 1 second. But as always, before why we transition into that and why you guys are getting your stocks in there, make sure, as always, hit that like button, hit that share button. All that helps me out. And if you want to do this analysis on your own, you can pull up the app, click on the little magnifying glass in the upper right-hand corner, and type in your symbols like we're about to do. If you're not a subscriber with VectorVest and you want to do this analysis on your own at any time, click on the link in the description of today's video. You can sign up for a free 2-week trial, and you can do all of this analysis every single day. Also, as a side note, if you're not already a subscriber, every Monday we do an update on gold in our daily color guard report that you can find on that homepage. And we give you a long-term view of gold, telling you when is a good time to be getting in and when is a good time to be considering getting out. So if you're into gold and silver and you want to take advantage of these on a long-term basis, or even on a short-term basis, really, make sure to tune in every Monday on the Daily Color Guard Report as we do our gold update for you. All right, so we've got some stocks coming in. Let's start off TPX. Tempur-Pedic. So looking at the analysis, you have these 4 indicators here at the bottom. All 4 of them are cast on a scale of 0 to 2. Above 1 is good, below 1 is bad. First one we come to is the RV, or relative value. At 1.64, that tells us this stock has good long-term potential. The next one is the RS, or relative safety. Once again, it's looking at the amount of risk involved with this stock compared to the average stock out there. 1.17 tells us that this stock has less risk associated with it than the average stock out there. So, good safety. The next indicator is the RT, or relative timing. This is looking at the short-term price trend of the stock. Once you own a stock, RT becomes the most important factor that any investor needs to be aware of. Because if it's above 1, it tells us it's still making us money. If it's below 1, it tells us it's losing us money. At 1.02, it's still in a slight uptrend. But realistically, as I say every single week, we like to see that RT at 1.1 or greater. So at 1.02, in my personal analysis, it doesn't cut it enough to keep this right now. Overall, it's a good stock, has good fundamentals. I need to see that timing pick back up. All right. MAT. All right. MAT, great long-term potential, a little bit less risk than the average stock out there. However, the timing at 0.88 tells us the short-term trend of the stock is down. Overall, decent stock, especially because of that RV rating, so it's more aggressive than anything else. But timing is of the essence, and it does not have that on its side currently. All right, AA. AA, actually the very first stock I purchased in my own trading account many ages ago. Alcoa, looking at it here, you have great long-term potential. Do have a lot of risk associated with it though, especially out of a resource stock. You know, those come and go quite frequently depending on the market conditions. So the balance sheets are typically not as consistent as some other performers. So you could expect to see a lower RS rating in some of these kind of stocks. RT at 1.37 tells us it is in a steady uptrend on a short-term basis, so therefore making the stock favorable. All right, what do you think about coin? We can definitely do a quick analysis of it, and this will pretty much tell the whole story. So coin, poor long-term potential, a lot of risk involved with it. You're in a steady free fall. Overall, definitely not a favorable stock. I bought one share just because we were doing it on stream when the IPO got released, or the DPO, excuse me. And quickly had buyer's remorse after that and sold out of it. I'm glad I did, especially seeing what it's done the last few days. All right, so apps, APPS. Apps, great long-term potential. You have solid fundamentals, so less risk associated with it. However, timing is of the essence, and the timing at 0.59 is just not there. Good stock, good fundamentals, not the right time to be in it. GOLD. So gold, you have great long-term potential. You have a little bit more risk associated with it. Timing, definitely in the right direction. Strong short-term uptrend. Overall, the stock is definitely favorable. Now, gold is one I didn't add in the list. It was another one of the popular plays. I don't believe I did. Let me double check, though. Gold, silver. Yeah, so gold I did not put in here. It didn't make the list. It's a good play, like I said before. Anything in the gold and silver mining industry is definitely going to be a prudent play as inflation fears pick up or ramp up here. It just didn't meet the top performers for the different categories we were looking at here. So while it's a good play, didn't quite meet the criteria I was looking for to build this list for you guys. All right, let's see. Enphase, ENPH. And Mark, I'm surprised Jay wasn't here to say Enphase. That's usually the first one he puts in. So round of applause for you for beating him in here today. All right, so looking at Enphase, great long-term potential. You have solid fundamentals. You have the timing, though. Timing is the only thing that makes me a little hesitant. Timing at 0.92 tells us it is in a slight decline right now. It's a great stock. I need to see that timing pick back up if you're looking for a new entry. There's Jay. I see him now. Jay's a little late to the party. Newmont Mining, so Newmont, NEM. Newmont, good long-term potential, but this one does have a lot of risk involved with it, which, as we've seen, the majority of the stocks in the gold and silver mining industry do have a lower RS score because, once again, resource stocks tend to have that. They tend to go in favor and out of favor over time, depending on the market conditions. RT, though, 1.47, extremely strong uptrend. Overall, stock's definitely a good play. More of an aggressive play, but still a good play. Let's see. ICLN. ICLN. Since this is an ETF, the RV and RS are always going to be pegged at 1, which makes it really easy to analyze ETFs with VectorVest. The only thing you have to look at is the RT. At 0.94, it tells us it is in a steady decline. Therefore, this one is not favorable right now. I still like the clean energy field or sector of the market. However, it's just, it's having a hard time getting started. It's having a hard time really getting on pace and getting back on track to where the overall thought process was on it, the overall hype behind it was for coming into this year. So still has a lot of work to do to get back on track there. All right, IPX, maybe that's LPX. Let's see, LPX. Yeah, LPX. Great long-term potential, solid fundamentals, steady, consistent uptrend. Overall, still a good stock. Extra up, there's J. EXROF. Extro Technologies, poor long-term potential, a lot of risk associated with it. It's in a steady decline. Overall, the stock is not currently favorable. It's a speculative play. Timing is iffy. It's got a lot of work to do. But there has been some good news stories. Unfortunately, they haven't really been showing up in the price action too much. All right, SQSP. SQSP, poor long-term potential, a lot of risk associated with it. You're in a steady decline. Overall, not favorable. Riot, RIOT. Riot, poor long-term potential, a lot of risk associated with it. You're falling like a rock. Therefore, it's not favorable. Had a great run earlier this year, and because of all that risk involved with it, you're seeing that quickly decline faster than the average stock out there. All right, Apple, AAPL. So Apple, great long-term potential. You have solid fundamentals. Timing, however, at 0.98 tells us it is in a slight decline currently. You got to be careful with that. Good fundamental play, not quite the timing if you're looking for a new entry. Let's see. Mara, another one is probably going to be brutally beat up. Mara, great long-term potential, but does have a lot of risk. You're in a steady decline. Overall, stock is about average compared to the average or compared to the entire U.S. market stock or markets out there. All right. Let's see. CNDT. CNDT. You have great long-term potential. You do have a little bit more risk associated with it, though. A steady, consistent uptrend. Overall, stock's definitely a great performer. AMD. AMD, great long-term potential. Less risk associated with this stock. You have timing, though. Timing is the one thing here that we get a little bit hesitant with. At 0.88, it tells us it is in a steady decline. So even though the stock has good fundamentals, right now is not the time to be long in it. Let's see. Newbie here. Don't we want to buy when the stock is low? So that is a common thought process. That is, the standard thought process most people think about when they think about stocks. You try to buy low and sell high. Well, the issue with that is if it's low, there's a reason for it being low. And also, low is a very relative word. Nobody can put a specific number on the term low. So, let's say the stock is at $10 and all of a sudden it's at $8. Well, yeah, it's low compared to that $10 price. But it could go lower and it could go lower. I've seen it happen time and time again where people buy into stocks or they've had money managers do this for them or what is it called? Financial planners do this for them. They call up their customer, they call up the person, they tell them, hey, the stock that you really like that you bought in at $10 is now at $8. I think you should buy more. Well, you already like the stock at 10, so you say, okay, sure, yeah, let's do that. They buy more. Then all of a sudden it goes down to 6, and now you have a doubled position size, let's say, just theoretical, and you're at an even bigger loss now. Well, you just bought it at $8, so now you're getting a better deal at $6. Let's buy it at 6. I have literally seen that go. Somebody had that happen to them. A customer that I worked with many years ago, they wrote their broker or their financial planner bought it at $20 and kept buying it into their portfolio all the way down to the $2 range. By the time it was $2, they were 75% of their whole entire portfolio was into that stock, and they were in a position that they couldn't get out of. So I like to follow the mindset just because, I've been here, I've been around long enough. I've watched the stock markets for almost 30 years now. A better mindset than try to buy low and sell high is buy high and sell higher. Because if a stock is high, that means they're doing something right and there's a lot of interest in that stock, and that stock price is being reflected in that. So buy high because they're doing what you want them to be doing. They're making money and they're moving up. And those have the higher probability of continuing to move up rather than trying to nail the bottom and trying to catch a falling knife. So hopefully that's a great question. Hopefully that gives some explanation into that, and hopefully helps, make you a better trader. But thank you for that question. I enjoy those questions. All right, let's see. So AMD, we've talked about that. Let's get into the next one. NLOK. About average, a little bit less than average long-term potential. You do have a lot of risk associated with this one. Timing at 1.34, it is in a slight uptrend. For a stock with this much risk, I would like to see that RT be quite higher, roughly 1.5 or greater. But 1.34, not bad. Overall, stock's good, but not great. Let's see. BLD, great long-term potential, less risk associated with this stock. However, timing is of the essence, and timing is at 0.98, telling us it is in a slight decline right now. Overall, it's a great stock. I need to see that timing pick back up. BABA, okay. There we go. So BABA has poor long-term potential. It does have a little bit more risk than the average stock out there. Not by much, but still a little bit more. Timing at 8.82. It's in a steady decline. Overall, this one is definitely not favorable still. Microsoft, MSFT. 1.34, great long-term potential. 1.37 on the RS. Solid fundamentals, so less risk associated with it. 0.95 on the timing, however, does have us a little bit hesitant. Overall, good stock. Need to see that timing pick back up. A lot of the big popular names, especially out of the tech field, have been getting beaten up, and you have seen that timing pulling back a little bit. All right, let's see. Lowe's, LOW. So Lowe's has great long-term potential, less risk associated with it. You're in a steady uptrend. Overall, stock's definitely favorable. Let's see. BNTX. BNTX, great long-term potential, a little bit less risk associated with it compared to the average stock out there. Really, really strong short-term uptrend. Overall, this stock is definitely a winner right now. AMRK, great long-term potential, less risk associated with it. Really strong short-term uptrend. Overall, this stock is definitely favorable. I like both of these last two that we've looked at. Robert, these are ones that nobody really talks or nobody really put in here. Robert and Rolly. So I appreciate you guys throwing these stocks out there because I like seeing those last two. Those are definitely some strong-looking performers there. All right, Facebook, FB. Great long-term potential, less risk associated with it. You're in a slight uptrend. Overall, stock's still favorable. Nugget and UGT. So, ETF, all you got to do is look at the RT, 1.79. Bullish on Nugget right now. No surprise there. Let's see, AGCO. AGCO, great long-term potential. You have less risk associated with this stock. However, the timing at 0.79 tells us it is in a steady decline. Therefore, now is not the time to be long in it. Good stock fundamentally wise, but not a good time to be in it. Jordan's asking, what do you think about EV stocks? So I like EV stocks. I like Tesla. I like Extro Technologies as well. You can go over to our YouTube channel. You can see a lot of the videos I've done on those. But, there's a lot of hype coming into this year, especially with the new changes in administrations here in the States, that everybody's expecting to see a huge push in clean energy, electric vehicles, EV space in general. And so far since the beginning of the year, we haven't really had a whole lot of anything. I think the last 4 years prior to that, has got everybody conditioned to expect fast results, and we're not really getting that. And we've seen, that space or that field that everybody's excited to see really, blossom this year. We haven't quite gotten to that point yet. So we've seen a lot of sell-offs in the electric vehicles, clean energy, just in general. So hopefully we can get a faster pace into this field, because I could see huge growth coming into that. It's still ripe, but until we see that spark, we're going to be sitting in this sideways move to a downward move in most of those stocks. All right. Let's see. Where was it? Where was I? FETE. Not finding that one here. VXX. All right. A lot of people looking at VIX recently. So this one, ETF, 0.53 on the RT, tells us right now is not a time to be in it. And then STC. And why I'm pulling that up, on lows, it dropped 10% plus in last month. How is it now? Good time? Peter, it's been a good time. If you're just now tuning in, this is one very minuscule data point in the history of Lowe's as a stock. It's been a good time to buy, and it's still. We'll go back and take a look at the graph real quick, but it's been a good stock to buy. All right, so STC, great long-term potential, solid fundamentals, nice steady uptrend, very prudent stock. I like what we see here. These are the types of stocks VectorVest favors. Overall, great performer at 1.49. All right, so let's go take a look at Lowe's one last time. Not going to look at the analysis, but the RT at 1.33 still tells us on a short-term basis, it is in an uptrend. We take a look at the graph. Okay, the stock had a pullback, but on a short-term basis, overall, it's still moving higher. Yes, it's pulling back, so you want to be careful with it right now, but the RT is still above 1. Granted, that momentum has pulled back or come down a little bit, but overall, it's still in a great uptrend. If you're waiting, if you're more technical and you want to find an entry based off of technicals, you could obviously do that. But the stock looks good. Taking a look, go to the graph settings, changing the RT at the bottom to earnings per share. Look at that earnings. That earnings is absolutely phenomenal. The company is consistently making money hand over fist. And not only that, but based off the analysis that you can see here, which is something unique you're not going to be able to find anywhere else, they're expected to continue to make money at least 12 months down the road. Got out due to the drop and was waiting to see about getting back in. So, Peter, if you got in at the high and you have stop criteria set in place and your stops were met, you followed your plan, that was a smart thing to do for your specific situation. This is looking at it from as of right now. So yeah, there may be, if you don't get the best entry, it doesn't mean it's a bad stock. It just means that, maybe your timing was a little off with it. There's a lot of different things to take into account. It's not just as simple as yes, this no, this no. It's not that easy. But that's where VectorVest really comes into play is, at the high, we've been having a lot of caution showing up in the color guard. We've been in a confirmed down market. We've been warning people about this. So right now at that high wasn't a good time to be buying in the overall market based off the analysis we do on a nightly basis for you. So, you got to take into account all aspects of it. Just because, you saw people breaking, you saw it start to run up, you fear of missing out, FOMO, if you will. People jumped on board, and then you saw this candle. Let's just zoom in. That tall wick on that candle tells us a lot of that volume there today or that day was selling volume, and that is a pretty clear indication of a reversal pattern coming up soon. You saw that reversal. Doesn't mean it's going to be long-term reversal. Just it could be a short-term reversal. Well, you've had a pullback. Now wait for that reversal sign to show to the upside. There you go. Is MACD a good indicator in this market? Depends. I personally don't use MACD quite often, Tony, but I know a lot of people do. All right, so last but not least, let's go ahead and recap things. So right now, we have actually improved on the overall market conditions. We are 2 ticks into the green rather than just 1 tick into the green. And we're somewhat bullish now rather than being mildly bullish. We scroll down, we see that green light coming in the buy to sell ratio. Now, price is green. It's been green. RT picking up day over day, week over week, but still remains below 1. The buy to sell ratio pushing above that level of 1 is definitely a strong sign, telling us now more stocks have that buy rating than the sell rating, or that there's overall market strength in the market. But keep this in mind. You have to close the market out like that to get that official green light there. Looking at the advanced declines, we're definitely seeing a huge uptick in advances. 62% now stocks moving higher, 28% of stocks moving lower, clearly meeting that 2-to-1 ratio that we like to see. And then scrolling down, looking at the major indices, the Dow is up 0.8%, Nasdaq's up 1.7, S&P seems to be picking up some ground at 1.12, overall VectorVest composite up about 1%. So Peter, also as a side note to that question, if you go to the live section on our Facebook page, you can find an archive of every single live stream we've done here on Facebook over the years. I highly recommend to go look at some of those. We have some on timing your exits, knowing when to buy, and everything in between. So hopefully if you're new and you want to get started with that, I definitely recommend to check some of those out. Also, this goes for all of our subscribers out there that are tuning in here today. If you ever need help with anything related to VectorVest, by all means, give our support a call, take advantage of it. We're here to help you out and make sure you're successful utilizing the software. So don't miss out on a great resource that you have at your fingertips here. So on that note, it's been my pleasure being with you here today. I hope you guys enjoyed today's session. I know I have. It's good to be back. So on that, take care, be safe out there, have a great weekend, and make sure to be here at 11 a.m. Eastern next Thursday as we kick off another live stream here on Facebook. So until then, take care, adios, see you guys in the next one.